Okay, what is happening, guys? Today we're going to learn about the timer. Okay, now what is the timer? The timer is basically a class that allows you to execute something for a specific period of time. For example, let's say you're playing a game and you want the ball to move every, let's say, 1 second. You can create a timer for that. Okay, so now let me demonstrate to you how it works. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a timer class. I'm gonna call it timer. Okay, now I'm gonna hold Control Shift and I to import. Now if you click here, you'll see you have multiple instances of the timer class. In our case, we simply want the timer that belongs to the swing package here, so we're gonna click this one and then click OK. All right, okay, now I'm gonna go to my init UI method here and initialize this timer. Okay, oops. Okay, now when you initialize the timer, the constructor will take in two arguments. The first one is the number of milliseconds, right, you want the timer to execute. In this case, I want it to execute every 1 second. So 1 second is equal to 1000 milliseconds. So I'm gonna put that here, right? And then the second argument, we have the listener. This is what you want the timer to do every time when 1 second passes by. Okay, so now I haven't created this listener object here, which is the action listener. So let me go on top and create it. Action listener. Okay, it's actually an interface. So now I'm gonna overwrite this action performed method, and then I'm simply gonna print out timer has been called. Okay, now let me put a semicolon here. Okay, I'm done initializing my listener class, right? So now let me run this program and see what happens. Okay, at the moment nothing happens because I didn't start the timer. So now in order to start the timer, I need to call the start method. And then now let me run this program again. And then we can see here that every 1 second, right, this prints out the timer. Okay, so now let's say now you want to stop the timer, let's say after 5 seconds, right? Now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create a variable here, call it seconds, right? And then initially it's gonna be 0. Now on the action performed method, I'm simply just gonna increase this, right? And then now if I see that the seconds have reached 5, I'm going to stop the timer, right? So I do this by calling timer.stop. Now let me run this. First let me clear this here. Okay, let me run it, see what happens. 1. Okay, the timer has been called let me see, 1 2 3 4 5 6, about 6 times. Okay, which the reason why it's called 6 times is because I'm stopping the timer here, right, when it reaches 5 seconds. But even though I stop the timer, this code below will still execute, right? Because the timer runs asynchronously. That means it runs in the background. Okay, so even if I call timer to stop, it doesn't mean now this code will not execute, right? So that's the reason why this has been called 6 times. Okay, so that's about it, guys, when it comes to using the timer in the basic way. I'll see you on the next tutorial.